All right, we're waiting. We're waiting some more for Instagram. Instagram, come on. Catch up, Instagram. Let's do this. Come on. Here we go. All right, we are live. This is Soundbooth Theater Live, and these are the last cold reads of Chrysalis 7. Uh-oh. Always forgetting the name of this one. Fated Antagonist. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you. Got a couple people who are really early. Raceland and Flipster. Oh, wow. 9:30 Flipster. You guys are dedicated to this stream, so thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming. I'm really excited to have this one last cold read, and don't forget the Discord server that I continue to stream from. The rest of the book is in the link to that is in the description below. So if you want to keep following along, make sure to join the Discord. So before we get started, also I want to remind you guys one more time about LitRPG Con. That is coming July 18th through 20th, so 2 weeks and a day. 2 weeks and a day from now. Man, I'm so pumped for this. We have the world's first convention dedicated solely to the LitRPG genre, hosted by Soundbooth Theater, July 18th through 20th in Denver, Colorado at the Grand Hyatt. Go to litrpgcon.com to get your tickets. They're only about $100, and we're going to have pretty much every big creator in the LitRPG genre there attending with us. You can play board games with us. You can watch our panels. You can enjoy our live entertainment at night. It's going to be amazing. So go to litrpgcon.com to see the full list of all the guests and panelists that are going to be there. We have everybody from Soundbooth Theater, myself included. We have Matt Dinneman, Alaron Kong, Dakota Kraut, James Hunter, Benjamin Curie, Rhino Z, the author of Chrysalis, is going to be there all the way from Australia. He's flying in. Shortaloon may be appearing through video chat. He has been very ill this year, but he's recovering. He's doing better, but it is unfortunately canceling his trip to come to the States and hang out with us at LitRPG Con. So, excuse me. But yeah, go check out litrpgcon.com. Buy your tickets there. Just $100. We're out of hotel rooms in the hotel that we're hosting it, but there are a ton of hotels surrounding that hotel that you guys can find a room, I'm sure. Lastly, my last message today is to go to soundbooth.app. That is where we have our independent distribution system, market, shop. And there you can listen to audiobooks. You can download them to your phone so that you don't need to use data to listen. You can listen on the plane or wherever you might find connection difficulties. But just last week, 1 week ago from today, I believe, we released The Grinding by Matt Dinneman. I narrated it. Annie Ellicott backed me up for the female voices. It is an incredible audiobook. I'm in the process of listening to it again right now. Well, not right now because I'm narrating, but, through the week I've been listening to it, and it's so compelling. It's so pulse-pounding, just a relentless pace and a relentless monster to follow. It is a kaiju story. It is a horror story, and it's a gut punch emotionally, as Matt Dinneman tends to give us in his stories. So go to soundbooth.app, pick that up, and pick up a ton of free stuff as well. There's lots of first episodes of our cinematic audio, including the Dungeon Crawler Carl audio immersion tunnel. And also we have, a bunch of new releases that have come out this year. One of them is by J.D. Blackrose, the Zombie Cosmetologist series. And there's 4 short stories available from that, all narrated by Ryan Reed with me, Jessica Threet, and I believe, is Justin Thomas James backing us up? I can't remember if Justin's in that one or not. Maybe it's just us 3. But it is fantastic. It's hilarious. J.D. Blackrose is a very talented writer, and it feels like a TV show. It really does. Like just the way that the dialogue goes back and forth. It's very witty. So yeah, go check that one out. Zombie Cosmetologist. What's the other? A Wrinkle and Crime is another name that's in there. But yeah, guys, and for both of those things, I want to remind you that, we are a small company. We are not a big corporation. We don't have the kinds of reach and the kinds of infrastructure and tech to be spreading the word on its own. So, the more you guys enjoy our work, I would encourage you to share it with other people. Share soundbooth.app and share the LitRPG Con with people, because, we need more customers. We need more people like you to discover how awesome our work is. And, we need our own ecosystem to be able to survive in the coming future. So, anyway, that's my whole spiel. I'll be sprinkling in more of that as I continue to stream today. But yeah, I'm so happy to get back to Chrysalis. This is one of my favorite audiobooks to narrate. First person's always excellent. First person is always an excellent perspective to narrate from. It's great because I get to be the character for the longest amount of time rather than the floating omniscient camera that's telling you what's going on. And for Chrysalis in particular, Anthony is just such a wonderful perspective to narrate from because he's so positive and so full of energy. And so that's what makes Chrysalis so much fun to narrate. And not only that, I get to practice this accent, and the accents become almost second nature to me now. I don't mess up with it very much. I think it still probably needs some work. Any Cockneys out there, any other Englishmen out there who's used to listening to Cockneys, I love to get feedback from people about it. If you guys have any criticisms about it, and if you think there's ways to make it sound just a little bit more authentic, I appreciate any feedback that you guys can give. Accents are a very tricky aspect of our discipline because regions vary so much. Individuals vary their accent so much. But what we're looking for is consistency and just the familiarity to bring to mind what we want people to see in the character. And so getting the right details in is important while still making it understandable, right? There's a lot of accents out there that are kind of far out there and can be hard to understand. So as much as authenticity is important, we also don't want to go too far into authenticity where we're leaving people behind in the story and they don't understand what's going on. But yeah, here goes. Chapter 54 is starting up. Okay. Actually, we're starting with a third-person chapter here, though. And I think that this is the second chapter I've narrated now that was third person, but also from Tiny's perspective. Tiny's probably my second favorite character in this story besides Anthony. So here goes. Oh, sorry. One more thing. I just wanted to say hi to everybody who's in the chat. We got Raceland, of course, Flipster. Hi guys. Robin Testerman for the colony. Thank you, Robin. When will the next RPG LitCon be on the East Coast? I wish I could come. I'm sorry, Robin. I don't think so. If we do another one next year, it's going to be in Denver probably, and if we do a third one, I'd like it to be in Kansas City. I think Kansas City will be Kansas City will be a fun place to host it. Plus, it's the Soundbooth Theater home base. So all right. We got Kremno. What's up, Kremno? Good to see you. Natiform Band. Natiform Band says, I describe Matt Dinneman's writing as a guy who can make you cry about a meatball. Amanda Pepper, good morning to you too, ma'am. Dirk Gently, good to see you. We were in NYCC last year. Where were you guys? All right, so here goes. Chapter 54. Big Brain. Tiny looked down at the little one cradled in the crook of his arm and felt a smile creep up on his face. Tiny looked down at the little one cradled in the crook of his arm and felt a smile creep up on his face. It was good to protect the little one and to make sure she survived as she slept. Keeping her safe when she was awake was much harder. Keeping her safe when she was awake was much harder. Tiny preferred times like this. It made him feel good, feel strong, when he cared for the little ones. They took care of Tiny, brought him food, were family with the master, so he would take care for them in return. The other thing that made him feel strong was the curve of his arm as he held the little one against his chest. This angle, this position, allowed him to flex his big bump of an arm muscle to an impressive degree, something he was sure to emphasize as he moved so that all could appreciate the wonderful sight. In truth, it absorbed his attention perhaps too much. On several occasions, the little one had tricked him by asking him to pose and then escaped when his back was turned. Trickery. One time, she asked which... Sorry. Where'd it go? One time, she asked him which arm was thicker, his right or left, and Tiny had become so absorbed in the quest... One time, she asked him which arm was thicker, his right or left, and Tiny had become so absorbed in the question that he remained as still as a statue for 6 hours. Only when the master realized that both he and the once hatchling had gone missing did he return to find Tiny looking at both arms. Oh my god. Only when the master realized that both he and the once hatchling had gone missing did he return to find Tiny looking at both arms, flexing and straightening them one after the other with a thoughtful frown on his face. Luckily the master wasn't too mad, though he did check Tiny's core just to make sure his cunning stat hadn't changed. Luckily the master wasn't too mad, though he did check Tiny's core just to make sure his cunning stat hadn't changed. Tiny found that a little insulting. No, he hadn't changed his stats. He just devoted most of his brain to hitting things, and muscles, which were a key part of hitting things. Now that he had more brain than before, he could think even more about hitting things and muscles. He didn't mind it so much, though sometimes he wished his shoulders were a little larger and his brain a little smaller. It should be noted that Tiny has truly, ridiculously, absurdly large shoulders. Tiny, I believe that Brilliant may be stirring. The voice of his sister broke into his thoughts of shoulders large enough to hoist a mountain on top of, and his gaze flashed down to the small form in his arm. The voice of his sister broke into his thoughts of shoulders large enough to hoist a mountain on top of, and his gaze flashed down to the small form in his arm. The shadow spoke truly. The young one had begun to twitch and wriggle, much as the grubs do, in small increments as she returned to the world of the waking. Moving gently, he placed her on the stone floor with one massive palm, then stepped back, peering carefully at the waking ant. I wonder if the script is going to say the right person. Chapter 54. Sorry, guys. I'm looking. So I have two versions of the script. One of which, yeah, okay, good. One of which is an Excel sheet, and that's used for when people do voices, right? So we have all the dialogue broken out, and each bit of dialogue is labeled with which actor and which character is saying it. So. He didn't want to make a mistake and have her run off on him again. The master would get annoyed, and then his brain would have to be even bigger for his next evolution, which would mean less energy for more important things. His fists curled in determination, which did interesting things to his forearms, but before he became distracted, he snapped his eyes back to the little one. I love how Tiny's just like this gym bro who can't stop looking at his own arms. Whew. That was close. I've informed the master. He will be with us soon, his sister informed him, and Tiny gave her a quick nod of gratitude. His sister informed him, and Tiny gave her a quick nod of gratitude. That meant he wouldn't have to focus for too long, which was a good thing. With the imminent arrival of their creator, they settled in to wait. Little brother decided he didn't want to float any longer and settled himself on top of Tiny's head, his two stick-thin arms a support. Nope. Little brother decided he didn't want to float any longer and settled himself on top of Tiny's head, his two stick-thin arms supporting him. It was a shame the little brother had such a weak body. He'd never know the true joy of smashing things with his fists, which made Tiny a bit sad. On the other hand, the little brother was very good at smashing things with his brain, which Tiny couldn't do. Perhaps smashing things with the brain was just as fun? He considered that for a second before shaking his head in denial. No, there was no chance of that being true. But the little brother enjoyed it, so that was good. At the movement of the head beneath him, Invidia stirred, forced to adjust his position, and Tiny felt a connection snap into being between the two of them. On the other side of the bridge, the giant ape could feel his little brother's mind, not so little right now, the weight of that ponderous brain looming like something that Tiny... On the other side of the bridge, the giant ape could feel his little brother's mind, not so little right now, the weight of that ponderous brain looming like something that Tiny didn't think he could lift. Be stills, the little brother chides, his eye flittering down to his resting place's massive frame. Your strength will be mine one day. Tiny shook his head again, causing the little demon to hiss with irritation. He knew the little brother would yearn for his great power. A pity he would never be as huge as Tiny. Then the hatchling sprang awake, leaping onto her 6 legs and pointing an antenna fervently behind them. She cried over a hastily crafted connection. Both Tiny and Invidia immediately turned, only to see nothing behind them at all, just a wall. Perhaps she wanted them to see the wall? Before the pair could lean in closer to more thoroughly inspect said wall, there was a skittering noise followed by a thump behind them. They turned back to see the hatchling splayed out on the ground, each of her legs bound by a coil of shadow. the newly evolved ant groaned. Oh, forgot to do this. I've been showing you half of nothing for a while. There we go. Since before you woke up, the sister said. Stay still until the master arrives, and I won't mention your attempt. Fine. She tried to escape. Tiny realized this and thumped one massive fist into his palm, then turned to his sister and gave her an energetic thumbs up. The patch of darkness that had bonded itself to the wall wibbled and sighed. Then a tentacle extended and molded itself into a matching gesture that Tiny happily bumped his own fist against before settling back. Teamwork. It felt nice to have others he could rely on. It took him a long time to understand that. Shortly after, the master arrives, rushing up in a blur before stopping and looming over the little one. Shortly after, the master arrives, rushing up in a blur before stopping and looming over the little one in a cloud of dust. At the last moment, the shadowy restraints slip into the stone and vanish, allowing the hatchling to stand once more. Thanks, guys, the master told them, his honest gratitude shining over the connection, warming each of them like a gentle flame. I really appreciate it. Then he poked and prodded the little one a few times. Now, let's see what you've done. Oh, Tiny. The elevation in Kansas City definitely isn't as bad as Denver. It may be a bit hotter this time of year than it is in Denver for sure. But Kansas City's growing really fast. We have this new streetcar that's going to be running through the entire city now. I say the entire city. It's just on Main Street, but it's like 5-mile stretch. It's a free streetcar. And basically it will take you, like, all the important parts of the core of the city is on Main Street. So it's actually going to be pretty nice. And we have good hotels along there, and Union Station, and tons of bars along Main Street, that's for sure. It's a fun place. I hope you guys will enjoy it if we host it in Kansas City. Chapter 55. Blooming Potential. I'm kind of surprised that the hatchling, brilliant, didn't try and escape after evolving. But here she is, obediently waiting for me after waking. Has she finally learned her lesson? That would be a good thing indeed. Growth. Actual growth. And here I thought I was going to have to change her name to Massive Idiant. Oh, I already turned off my ringer. Well. I look down on the emphatically no longer a hatchling and clack my mandibles happily. Tier 5. You made it to the big leagues! A big bad ant now! This is actually a level that the majority of the colony hasn't reached. You're now part of the elite. I can tell she wants to reply something to the effect of naturally, but knows she'll get a thwacking for it. As she should. Who did all the work? I feel good, she says. Strong. I feel like I can see things more clearly than I could before. Oh? You mean you understand things better? Or your literal sight has improved? Both, I think. Interesting. Well, I'm keen to take a peek at your core and see what you chose. Hold still for a second. I reach down with one antenna. Why is that so hard to say? I reach down with one antenna and throw my mind into her core, swimming through the rush of mana and information that is held. I reach down with one antenna and throw my mind into her core, swimming through the rush of mana and information that is held within until I manage to sift it down to the parts I understand. Sorry, I've been ignoring the Instagram people. Okay, they're not saying anything, though. Thanks for coming, Instagram people! The Unwise Moon looks like our latest. What's up, Rip Rex? Name? Brilliant. Level 1. Special. Rank 5. Might? 5. Oh, this should be tier 5, shouldn't it? Fuck. I think I've been saying rank 5. Man. I think I've been saying rank 5 for everything, or like when I see the Roman numeral, I've been saying rank instead of tier. And I don't know if that's a problem or not when I do these stat reads. I think I'm going to say tier 5 this time. Tier 5. Might, 50. Toughness, 50. Cunning, 150. Will, 150. HP, 100 out of 100. MP, 0 out of 250. Skills. Advanced Digging. Rank 2, Level 9. I don't know if Rhino cares. I'm going to ask. It is absurd o'clock. Well, not too absurd. I think it's like midnight 30 over there. Well, I sent him the message. Let's see if we get a response at some point. Acid Shot. Rank 3, Level 5. Expert Grip. Rank 3, Level 15. Shattering Bite. Rank 3, Level 16. Flicker Dash. Rank 3, Level 19. Let's see here. I kind of want to go check what I've been doing. Let's see. Is this the first stat read of the whole book? It may just be. Chapter 6. Let's see if I can go look. Ares Crown, what's up? I have been saying rank. Okay, let me see what I did in book 5. I would say if I was even doing it in book 5 that we should leave it alone. Okay. I have been saying rank since book 5. Okay. It is what it is. Let's go back. Here we are. Rank 5. Exoskeleton Defense. Rank 1, Level 4. Expert Stamina. Rank 3, Level 13. Mana Craft. Rank 5, Level 4. Finer External Mana Manipulation. Rank 4, Level 27. Stone Magic Affinity. Rank 4, Level 9. Expert Shadow Magic Affinity. Rank 3, Level 7. Expert Light Magic Affinity. Rank 3, Level 15. Advanced Mind Magic Affinity. Rank 2, Level 6. Mutations. Rapid Energy Reactive Exoskeleton, plus 20. Enhanced Vampiric Mandibles, plus 20. Might Gripping Legs. Mighty Gripping Legs, plus 20. Clarified Mana Weave Eyes, plus 20. Delicate Discerning Sensitive Antennae, plus 20. Concentrated Melting Acid Gland, plus 20. Gluttonous Stomach, plus 15. Broadened Pheromone Language Gland, plus 20.
Elevated Mana Core Lattice, plus 20. Piercing Dungeon Oracle, plus 20. Weaving Dimensional Eye, plus 20. Purified Energy Stone, plus 20. Mana Crystal Weave. Brain. Mana Crystal Weave. Brain. Species: Mature Omniseer, Formica. Skill points: 37. Biomass: 24.
Wow-wee! She's got more mental stats than I do. Considering that she essentially abandoned physical development, I shouldn't be too surprised, but it still stings a little. Unlike me, she invested the whole lot into a single brain rather than spreading it out, which means she has quite the oomph behind a single line of effort, as opposed to my more diversified efforts. Eventually, she'll reach the required rank in mind magic and then be able to craft the mind constructs much as I can. I see she even went to the effort of making her brain mutable, which makes sense. Since she became a mature Omniseer, it's clear she's followed an evolution chain, and the main reward appears to have been the Mana Crystal Weave, a rather potent organ. Brilliant has gone down a path I myself will probably have to consider rather soon. The road of investing in the core itself. She has two organs that interact directly with the gem that sits in her centre. First was the core lattice, a web of fine crystalline lines that branch off the core in a breathtaking structure. The purpose of this organ is multifaceted, allowing mana to flow in and out of the core more easily, as well as granting finer control over it in the vicinity of the core. Now she's added the weave, a sphere that's part crystal, part flesh that the lattice connects to, further enhancing the effect and making Brilliant exceptionally sensitive to the teensiest vibration of mana that occurs within her frame. She's basically set herself up as a detector of all things, able to sense everything that occurs around her to an extraordinary degree, particularly in the realm of mana. I can understand why. She is desperate to understand and investigate all that goes on, and she has given herself the tools to make that happen. With these mutations, she's also turned herself into a powerful all-around caster, with a steady flow of energy and very fine control over it. With these mutations, she's also turned herself into a powerful all-around caster, with a steady flow of energy and very fine control over it. With a few more skill levels under her belt, she'll be able to pump out some mighty impressive magic, no doubt about it. With her absurd rate of improvement, I'm sure it won't even take her long. Damn it! This feels unfair on quite a few levels. On the other hand, she's done basically nothing to make herself more survivable. Her toughness is too low, and she can't heal herself, and her defensive skills remain paltry garbage. If I hadn't insisted on making her run so much, her dash would still be in a terrible state. All in all, I like what you've done. I congratulate her as I remove my antenna. You'll be able to puzzle out the secrets of mana and whatever the dungeon hides in no time. This can only be good for the colony. Naturally, she says smugly as she rises. There's not going to be anything in this world that I won't be able to figure out. All I need is a little time. I hope you're right. There is still way too much that we don't understand. Now that she's reached Tier 5, I feel less like I need to be actively pushing her and feeding her experience, but I still think she's not quite ready for her life as an independent champion. The moment I let her loose, she's going to start attracting a following and become another powerful and relatively independent force within the colony, just like Vibrant is. Vibrant obviously works together with the colony and is a massive contributor, but she's also a little tough to slot into plans and tends to make it... Vibrant obviously works together with the colony and is a massive contributor, but she's also a little tough to slot into plans and tends to make life a little difficult for other members of the council without intending to. I fully expect the same will be true of Brilliant soon enough. She'll help us progress, of that I have no doubt, but things will get a little messy. She'll help us progress, of that I have no doubt, but things will get a little messy along the way. That's a good thing in the long run. The way things happen around here can be a little too rigid at times. That's a good thing in the long run. The way things happen around here can... That's a good thing in the long run. The way things happen around here can be a little too rigid at times. I think having Brilliant and Vibrant around to upset the balance is going to be healthy. I just want to make sure she's ready. All right then, Brilliant. One more trip, and that's it. You'll have graduated my teaching and will be able to make... You'll have graduated my teaching and will be able to make your way in the colony however you see fit. The little ant freezes on the spot, then turns her whole body to look me straight on. Are you serious? One more? That's it? One more and I'm free? I flick my antennae, a little annoyed. What do you mean free? You aren't in prison? Forget it. Yes, I mean it. What do you mean free? You aren't in prison. What do you mean free? You aren't in prison? Forget it. Yes, I mean it. After this trip, you can go where you want, do what you want, investigate to your heart's content. Let's try one more time, because that's the very end of the chapter. What do you mean free? You aren't in prison? Forget it. Yes, I mean it. After this trip, you can go where you want, do what you want, investigate to your heart's content. There we go. That's the way to end a chapter. Chapter 56. The Lay of the Land. It'd be nice to mutate right now, but I want to build up my bank of biomass a bit more before I take the plunge. Going through those endless lists and menus is a massive pain in the backside, and I'd rather save it all up and go through as much as possible at once. That doesn't mean I don't tell Tiny, Crinus, and Invidia that they need to make sure they're 100% ready to go before we head out. I leave my 3 friends to contemplate their options whilst Brilliant roams free, enjoying a taste of unsupervised freedom before I grab her back into the fold and head out into the stratum once again. Okay, so I'm going to leave into in there. It says in, go out in the stratum, but I think into sounds better. Aries Crown asks, I'm curious, do you narrate on your first read-through, or do you read the book at least once before narrating it? This one is cold. This one, Chrysalis, I just haven't had the time to pre-read. I always prefer to pre-read. I think the product is always 1 to 2% better if I pre-read. But, you know, I'm just so ridiculously busy, I just don't have the time to as much as I'd like. I do have a lot of pride, though, in how well I'm able to cold read things. It's pretty nice. But like Dungeon Crawler Carl, the only cold read I did for Dungeon Crawler Carl, oddly enough, was book 5, which in my opinion is my best performance. So it's kind of a weird thing. Well, cold read, like, I call the show Cold Reads. It's not always technically a cold read, but most of the time. At least with stuff that's not Dungeon Crawler Carl. I think I did pre-read the first Chrysalis. I have several ideas in mind for this expedition, but before I commit to anything, I feel like I should take advantage of the collected wisdom here in Orpule before I go gallivanting off into the wilds once again. My first port of call is to check in with Sarah. Our last talk was a bit heavy, and I know she has some things to process. I figure the polite thing to do is to invite her out again rather than make an assumption. I figure the polite thing to do is to invite her out again rather than make an assumption. I figure the polite thing to do is to invite her out again rather than make an assumption. That's kind of you, Anthony, but I think I'll rest here in the city for a bit. I don't want to go out there while my head isn't on straight. With what's going on with Jim, I just don't think I'll be in proper control of my emotions. Definitely not something you want if you're an anger-fueled murder bear. I get you. I give her an encouraging pat on the back. Take it easy and rest for a while. Head up to the second stratum if you feel like it. Might as well enjoy the cold while you still can. She shudders a little. Ooh, I might take you up on that. Even with these enchantments, it's so hot here. You're just too furry. You need a nice shiny carapace in your next evolution. You won't regret it. She eyes my diamond perfection askance. I'll consider it, she says, though I'm not convinced she means it. What is this reluctance? Bah! Some people can't accept true beauty when it's right in front of their eyes. I say farewell to the big bear and head deeper into the city to check on the goings-on in the anthill. As usual, my appearance causes a few ripples of disturbance amongst the ants, but it's something I'm growing used to over time. I feel like the more attuned to them I become, the more attuned to me they get, as if the connection is working in both directions. Which it shouldn't be. I've studiously checked the flow of energy through the vestibule, and it's all one way. Though it's hard for me to examine exactly what happens in the nave, I can't detect any hint of something leaving me and going to them, so I can't explain it. Nonetheless, it feels as if it's true. Eldest! I'm greeted by Cobalt. Of all the ants, she's certainly someone I didn't expect to see here. Shouldn't you be back at the nest, taking care of all the expansion projects up there? I ask suspiciously. She holds both antennae straight up in the air. No thwacking, she cries. All the projects are running smoothly, and we delayed the timetable for expansion in order to make sure there aren't any mistakes. Since I didn't have anything to do, I thought I'd come down here and help with the research and construction going on. Research? You guys found some interesting stuff? I ask, curious. Oh, yes, she nods, thankful that I've been distracted from more dangerous topics. The scouts identified a new type of ore that we are currently testing. It's saturated in fire mana and incredibly heat-resistant. We can think of hundreds of uses for it, but so far we haven't managed to smelt it. Either we can't make a fire that's hot enough, or there's another method we haven't discovered yet. Interesting. Well, I'm sure you'll think of something. I'm not going to be the one to puzzle out this mystery. I leave that to the smarter ants. In terms of building, what are the carvers working on down here? Once again, she backs off as if frightened that I might discipline her. I'm not that scary. Just defensive works, honest. I've even been sleeping properly. No abductions for a week. 1 week? That's it? Just how often were you getting captured? I ask, my antennae quivering with barely concealed anger. Just how often were you getting captured? Not that often. Rest is important. Thwack! After dispensing justice to the remote... After dispensing justice to the remorseful carver, I head off to find my 3 favourite rock-covered people in the whole world. That is to say, Granin, Corin, and Tarina, who made the journey to... That is to say, Granin, Corin, and Tarina, who made the journey over to Orpule not that long ago. That is to say, Granin, Corin, and Tarina, who made the journey over to Orpule not that long ago. As expected, I find them working with the core shapers, assisting in the research and practice of the cast as they experiment with the precious few demon cores to see what they came... As expected, I find them working with the core shapers, assisting in the research and practice of the cast as they experiment with the As expected, I find them working with the core shapers, assisting in the research and practice of the cast as they experiment with the precious few demon cores to see what they can come up with. I have to say, if they manage to fold a shadow beast and a demon together into one monster, I'll be impressed, though I have no idea how useful the resultant monster would be. Perhaps they'd be better off putting different types of demon together. Hey there, Granin! I give him and the gang a friendly wave as I approach. How's things treating you? He barely looks up at me before he grunts over the mental connection.
You still haven't evolved yet,
he says. You can't be serious.
What if I am?
I stare at the stubborn old slab of granite, a touch exasperated, and Tarina comes to my rescue by stepping into the mental link. I think Granin is just a little concerned. We've been taking measurements of the mana levels here in the 3rd stratum, and there are signs that they may already be starting to rise again. I stare at her, gobsmacked. Another wave? Already? No, not for a month or 2, perhaps more, but it's disturbing nonetheless, she says. After the last 2 waves, the readings never fell back to normal. In fact, after the last one, they fell even less than after the first. If this pattern continues...
This is evidence that your theory might be correct. That another cataclysm is on the way.
That ain't good.
Nothing is certain.
Corin holds his hands up.
This could just be nothing, and we might find that the concentration of energy begins to fall again over the next few weeks.
I'm not even sure if he believes it.
It won't.
Granin rumbles over the mind bridge, his thoughts unusually still.
We don't have much time until they come up for us.
He lifts his head and looks me in the eyes.
So, why haven't you evolved yet?
Bella. All right. Chapter 57. Limits? We don't need no stinking limits! So that was a fun one because I was doing an Englishman trying to do a Mexican accent. That was fun. Okay. All right, so I need to tell Annie that this is actually Bella. And I'm going to do a speed read of this.
The Demon Infusion program started shortly after our expansion began with the third stratum. It became quite clear quite quickly that a steady supply of demon recruits would be needed to fuel our ambitions, especially if we wanted them to be a regular and meaningful contributor to our conquests. Normally, this would happen naturally, as there is always a flow of demons that battle and survive on the plants below, reaching tier 6 and then ascending to join their cousins on the plate cities above. The issue we encountered was that this process seldom gave rise to demons who had maximized their potential through the early evolutions, particularly the first two. A demon larva lives a truly brutal and savage existence, fighting constantly, consuming what biomass it can in the flowing melee, and mutating rapidly in order to gain whatever edge it can over its innumerable enemies. Although it doesn't take long for the larvae to absorb enough mana to form their cores, given the density of the energy at this level, half of Tier 2 larvae evolve without forming one. Desperate to survive, they reach for the quick power a fast evolution will provide. These stunted larvae seldom go on to reach any higher, becoming food for their brethren and who achieve a more powerful evolution. This is quite wasteful and inefficient, something the colony has never been prepared to tolerate. It's impossible to observe and assess each and every larva, but with great effort, the colony was able to create a system whereby promising larvae would receive support to ensure they achieve perfect evolutions up to Tier 4, whereupon they would be allowed to make their own way. Although imperfect, this greatly improved the quality and strength of the demons who had joined those cities under the influence of the colony, something they greatly appreciated and repaid many times over with their savagery and enthusiasm for battle.
Excerpt from Growing Demons by Bella. After absorbing this sober warning from Granin, I head back to where the gang is still sorting out their mutations and park my diamond-covered rear for a minute to consider my levelling speed. It's not as if I've been slacking off, and the hunting has been good. It's just that the experience has been spread out over the group fairly evenly. That's not what Granin wants to happen. He wants me to force my pets to funnel me all the experience, as well as depend on the colony to do the same. It wouldn't even necessarily be wrong to do so. If I get accelerated to Tier 7, then my friends will be able to enjoy my protection, along with the colony, as I would be able to go toe-to-toe with our most powerful enemies without having to take massive risks or depend on surprise tactics to win. Even so, it doesn't feel right to me. During our extended hunting trips, I've been making sure that Brilliant is fed the lion's share up until she maxes out, then letting everyone split our gains roughly evenly. I'm still ahead of my group in levels, but not by a significant amount. Even my babysitters have been getting their share since I forced them to take it. Although the flow of XP has been good, spreading it out over so many monsters has made the gains fairly low. Idly wondering what level I've even managed to reach, I bring up the menu and take a look. Level 35. Not bad. All things considered, that's not half bad. I mean, I only need to reach level 160. Holy moly! That's another 125 levels! Are you kidding me, Gandalf? That's unreasonable. An outrageous demand. Actually, wait a second. That means in order to reach Tier 8, a monster needs 320 levels, and Tier 9 would take 640. Are there really any monsters like that? It's absurd! Complete madness! Who would come up with such a stupid requirement? How could it possibly be achieved? Then again, if we imagine that the Ancients are Tier 10, which I have no idea if they are, but let's go with it for now, that would mean they'd need 1,280 levels to get from 9 to 10. I get that monsters don't really age and will live forever if we don't experience death by violence, and that the Ancients may have had literally thousands of years to level up and achieve their current level of power, but it still feels ridiculous. If I had to grind levels and biomass for even 100 years, I'd feel as if I'd go insane. No, I think I will continue my current policy of sharing the love and refusing to hog the XP. Although I do think we need to accelerate our efforts. The closer I get to the next tier, the safer I feel running around down here. Although, aside from the few Tier 7s I've run into, I haven't really felt threatened by anything we've encountered.
Luckily for us, the bulk of the wild demons that we run into are lone wolves, operating on their own until they reach the 6th tier and join a city and demon society more broadly, making them easy pickings for our hunting party. Alright, gang, everyone doing well? All ready to go? Managed to deal with the itch? Managed to deal... Alright, gang, everyone doing well? All ready to go? Managed to deal with the itch? Each of the pets gives me a slightly odd look, but I brush it off. Each of the pets gives me a slightly odd look, but I brush it off. Coming out of a mutation can have that effect on a monster. It's time to head out again. We're going out towards Karmodo territory, being careful not to tread on any scaled toes and irritate the touchy lizards. It's time to head out again. We're going out towards Karmodo territory, being careful not to tread on any scaled toes and irritate the touchy lizards. Even so, I think it will be a good idea if we can get a general picture of how strong they are and how many cities they control in this area. If we manage to pick up the trail of that traitor worm, all the better. Sound good to everyone? Do I need to evolve on this trip as well? Brilliant asks, one antenna in the air. No, you don't. It would be nice to push you... It would be nice to push you to tier 6, but I don't think you're quite ready for it yet. You need to have a better idea of what it is you want to do and what you need to become before you commit to those decisions. Anyone else? Tiny, Crinus, and Nvidia don't seem fussed either way. So we quickly make ready and exit the city once more.
Real short chapter there. All right, so real quick before we keep going, just want to remind everybody about LitRPG Con and the Soundbooth app. There are 96 viewers here, so this is a good opportunity for me to advertise once again. LitRPG Con is in 2 weeks and one day, July 18th through 20th in Denver, Colorado. That's at the Grand Hyatt Hotel, and it is the very first convention dedicated to the genre of LitRPG. All the biggest creators in the genre are going to be there. Go to litrpgcon.com, check out that big list, and see who you can join for board games, panels, and late-night entertainment for the whole weekend. It's about $100 for admission, and you can find hotels all around the same hotel that we're at to get rooms in. Unfortunately, the hotel that we're hosting it in has run out of rooms. But we want you guys to attend. We want you big fans to spend some time with us. We want you guys to make friends with each other. And if there are people in your life who you've been meaning to get into LitRPG but have been having a hard time, this is a great way to do it. Introduce them to the community. They will see just how welcoming and loving everyone is here. It's actually a pretty unique fan base in that regard. So litrpgcon.com, check out that list. See if you want to go. I know you do want to go. This is just a trick question. If you go to the website, you'll see that you can buy the tickets there, and you definitely will, I promise. Also, go to soundbooth.app and pick up more of our products. We have tons and tons of cinematic audio and classic audiobooks on our platform, soundbooth.app. There you can get our latest release, The Grinding by Matt Dinneman. I narrated it. Annie Ellicott backed me up for the female characters. And it is a pure horror. It's not LitRPG at all. But it is Matt Dinneman, so it is brilliant. Don't delay. Go to soundbooth.app. Pick up that book. It is so much fun. I'm listening to it myself over the week, and whenever I have time, and I just love it. So yeah, along with that, free first episodes of all of our cinematics, lots of free stuff on the app if you just want to try it out without having to commit any money whatsoever. and I trust you'll get hooked. All right. Here goes. Chapter 58. Chapter 58. Scout's Honor. Burke wouldn't say she disliked the company of other ants, not at all, but it couldn't be denied that she, and quite a few other scouts, had developed a strange sense of independence over the months. More than any other group, except perhaps the far-ranging core shapers who spend more time with their pets than others of their own kind, the scouts spend huge periods outside of the comforts of the nest. More than any other group, except perhaps the far-ranging core shapers who spend more time with their pets than others of their own kind, the scouts spend huge periods outside of the comforts of the nests, patrolling, carrying messages, scouting. Obviously, all of this alone time had made them a little reclusive, a little uncomfortable when exposed to the crush of the nests and the tightly packed ranks of their kind. She herself could admit that upon leaving the demon cities and climbing down the plains below, she'd felt a certain tension unwind within her thorax, a subtle pressure relax within her mind. Burke breathed deep of the third stratum air and allowed the heated manner with a tinge of destruction swirl around her core. It felt good to be back out in the wild. It felt good to be back out in the wilds of the dungeon with only herself to rely on. A little peace, a little quiet. It was important to enjoy these moments whilst they lasted. She detected a slight vibration through the ground being transmitted to her legs, the fine hairs there thrumming at an increasing pace. Just breathe. Take in the peace. The vibration had now become a faint rumbling. Even the demon larvae on the ground were starting to shimmy and shake as they engaged in their eternal tussle, yet Burke tuned it all out. Until the very last moment, she would concentrate on the here and now. So soothing.
Hey there, Burke, how are you doing? You look tired. Maybe you should relax a little, but don't let the shadows catch you. Wait. Don't let the shadows catch you. They're watching for sure. I think they follow me.
An assault
of pheromones washed over the suddenly exhausted scout leader as the vibrations ceased when Vibrant and over 100 of her loyal crew slid to a stop right next to her.
Vibrant, she started. Aren't you supposed to be inspecting the territory to the east of here? Isn't that what you said you would do for the council?
All of that serenity, all of that quiet peace, gone in an instant. Already she could feel the burgeoning pressure as over 100 ants packed in around her. Burke loved to be around her kind. She just needed a break from them every now and again, and this wasn't helping.
And don't forget to talk slower,
She reminded the much larger soldier.
I can barely understand you at that speed. I mean, can your followers even understand you? Can you figure out what she's talking about?
She asked a nearby general.
I don't know what you mean. It seems fine to me. Are you sure you just answered a little slow? Maybe you should speed up a little. Aren't you scouts are supposed to be fast? I mean... I get it! Vibrant, please. Fine.
Vibrant cheered.
Though it feels so much more natural to go fast. How are you, Burke? I finished looking over the east side. It was really cool. Lots of demons, a few tunnel entrances, and some strange crystal thingies that some Golgarian humans were mining. We ran up to say hello, but they all screamed and fled from us. So funny. Before you ask, no, I didn't map it out or write anything down, but I think someone did. I did lead a Vibrant. I have it right here. Great, thanks so much. There you go. So I thought I should head over here and see if you needed any help.
Shane Mitchell asks, question for the ages. If you enjoy a book you narrate, is that narcissism? I don't know. If you're a musician and you and you produce a song that you like, is that narcissism? If you're an artist of any kind and you create something that you like, is that narcissism? I don't know. It's a good question. It's a philosophical question.
The scout leader deflated just a bit as she took it all in. Crystals, Golgari and humans mining. Crystals, Golgari and humans mining. So many questions, although one issue did stand out to her.
You do remember that you were supposed to remain hidden as much as possible during this scouting mission, right, Vibrant? During this period, the Eldest has explicitly stated we should avoid bringing unwanted attention to the colony, right? You remember that? Vibrant?
The more she talked, the more still Vibrant became, until even her antennae weren't moving, as if every hair on her carapace had gone still.
God, I just love the personalities of these ants.
Vibrant? Anything to say?
Burke pressed. The big ant shifted on the spot, her front legs brushing through the air in front of her as if sweeping the scout's words into the bin.
I forgot!
She cheered.
It's fine, fine. We didn't fight anybody, and there wasn't anyone around to chase us or anything.
Burke wanted to slap herself in the face with one leg.
That's not the point, though. Just try and be more careful, please,
she begged.
We don't want to ruin things in this important moment for the colony, do we? There's a lot going on right now, and a ton of things are getting fixed up above us. It's just going to take a bit more time. Time we can't afford to lose dealing with extra hostilities from extra adversaries.
Vibrant nodded and reached up to pat her on the back.
Of course, don't worry, Burke. I'll be sure to take care of things here for you. You're the one I'm worried about! Haha, I'm sorry, I just find it a little hard to focus on these sorts of warnings sometimes. Why's that? I kind of figure the eldest would have ruined everything and gotten in trouble by now, so I don't have to worry about it. Crap. Just what do you think about... You might have a point, actually.
The scout leader was forced to reflect on all the times the eldest had thrown the colony headfirst into conflict without affording them the time to properly prepare. In a way, the accelerated time frame for invading the third stratum had come about because the eldest pushed downward, and though it wasn't their fault, the colony always wanted to follow where their... In a way, the accelerated time frame for invading the third stratum had come about because the eldest pushed downward, and though it wasn't their fault, the colony always wanted to follow where the eldest In a way, the accelerated time frame for invading the third stratum had come about because the eldest pushed downward, and though it wasn't their fault, the colony always wanted to follow where their oldest... Fucking hell. In a way, the accelerated time frame for invading the third stratum had come about because the eldest pushed downward, and though it wasn't their fault, the colony always wanted to follow where their oldest member went.
Right. Right, but don't worry, I'll do better.
Vibrant thumped herself on the front of her thorax with a leg.
What do you need scouted in this area? We can get it done in a flash.
I'll bet you can't, Burke muttered. The scouts were certainly fast, amongst the fastest ants. The scouts were certainly fast, amongst the fastest ants in all the casts, but speed wasn't their only concern. They also needed to be stealthy, with keen senses and heightened detection abilities to find what others wanted to keep hidden and locate enemies before they were close enough to harm them. All of those things took a significant chunk of evolutionary energy, more than were detected. All of those things took a significant chunk of evolutionary energy, more than were dedicated to sheer physical prowess. Whereas Vibrant, and by extension her entire group, poured the bulk of their potential into covering ground as fast as they could. Her mages weren't as strong as regular mages in the colony in terms of spell slinging, but they were a hell of a lot more mobile. Her mages weren't as strong as regular mages in the colony in terms of spell slinging, but they were a hell of a lot more mobile. If all Burke needed them to do was put some eyeballs on the terrain, then Vibrant and her team would get the job done by far the fastest out of anyone in the colony.
All right. You can do it, but make sure you're more careful this time. Until we know the eldest has stuffed up the peace in some way, you don't want to be the one the council has to blame.
No, why have you done this?
Roger! Look here.
She leaned forward to sketch a few rough shapes in the gritty stone between them.
We've located 3 cities in these locations, but so far we haven't mapped the ground between them and we don't know who has interests here, so we've been reluctant to get too close. If you can rush through there at top speed and keep an eye out for tunnel entrances and traffic between them, that would be great. So long as that goes fine and there isn't a reaction, then you can push further out in this direction and meet up with my scouts who should be operating in the area.
She indicated a section to the right of the cities with a front leg.
Check in with them, and then, if you have the energy to spare, you can swing out to the west. Once you've gone 500 kilometers out, you should come back. We aren't intending to go further out than that at this time.
Vibrant looked at the map carefully before her head snapped up, her eyes ablaze with energy that seemed to sear Burke's eyes.
Okay, bye-bye, you... Okay, bye-bye, see you again soon. Okay, bye-bye, see you again soon.
A wave of pheromones smacked Burke in the face once more, and then a cloud of dust kicked up, as well as a heap of demon larvae who didn't move out of the way fast enough, blocking her vision. When the dust and demons cleared, Vibrant and her entire group were gone. Burke settled back with a sigh.
Peace and quiet,
she huffed to herself. Chapter 59. Darkness Eternal. Leroy was tired. Not just in a physical sense, because she was definitely drained from long days without rest and filled with hard labor, but more than that, she felt a weariness that echoed deep within her very soul. Not even the harsh words of the eldest had been enough to shake this lethargy and sense of aimlessness from her and her fellow Tier 6 sisters. If only she'd been more careful and read the evolution description more carefully.
I'm going to change that.
If only she'd read the evolution description more carefully. If only any of them had done that. The fact she and her sisters were similarly bound to the same fate made it so much worse than if she were the only one, for she felt responsible, that she herself had led them down this path with... The fact she and her sisters were similarly bound to the same fate made it so much worse than if she were the only one, for she felt responsible, that she herself had led them down this path with which... The fact she and her sisters were similarly bound to the same fate made it so much worse than if she were the only one, for she felt responsible, that she herself had led them down this path which inevitably led to this end. What's more, The eldest specifically banned her from informing her younger sisters, who even now were battling and struggling to evolve to reach this tier, to their disastrous fate. All these issues combined to infect the aptly named Immortals with a dreary malaise that many of their number despaired of being able to cure. Complying with the orders of the eldest, the highly evolved shock troops managed to rouse themselves enough to throw themselves into work, hauling stone, tearing down existing structures, and doing all the heavy lifting the build crews could throw at them for days on end, working without rest. Leroy finished dragging a huge chunk of stone to the base of the pillar on which Rocklew stood and looked up at the mighty work the colony was engaged in. She wasn't sure when, but the carvers had discovered a new type of stone, one immensely resistant to heat that also appeared to have a sort of regenerative property. With further exposure to the conditions in the third stratum, the builders had learned much, including how the scorching, ash-infused atmosphere degraded almost every material that it touched. The existing demon structures, however, appeared to be immune to this weathering damage. This led to the discovery of the new mineral, followed by a frenzied mission to find and process the stone. In typical Ant fashion, this was achieved quickly by applying thousands of highly motivated individuals to the task until not only was a significant deposit located, but mining and refining had taken place over just a few days. Now, thousands of tons of material were in the process of being hauled across the plains to construct a massive anthill, a construction the likes of which the third stratum may have never seen before. Reaching from the ground all the way to the plate a kilometre above, this hill would become the base of operations for the colony in this layer of the dungeon, a massive fortress that would occupy many millions of cubic meters, rivaling the size of the main nest itself. At the moment, the carvers were busy preparing the foundation, and although progress was slow since the number of build teams on this level of the dungeon had greatly diminished over the previous 2 weeks, already the scale of the project was coming into sight. The footprint of the hill to come was staggering, almost a kilometre square. It likely wouldn't be finished for months, perhaps longer, even if the colony decided to commit tens of thousands of workers to the project. Despite the ambition and effort on display, Leroy struggled to find the joy and pride that she knew she should. Despite the ambition and effort on display, Leroy struggled to find the joy and pride that she knew should be there inside her carapace. Instead, there was a hollow sensation that had only grown since she lost her direction, her purpose in life. All of the immortals around her felt the same.
Leader,
One of her faithful lieutenants approached her from the side.
do you plan to rest soon? You shouldn't call me that anymore,
Leroy said bitterly.
after what I've led you to. This eternal life. We each chose our species on our own, and we each made the same mistake. You can't be blamed for that, leader. We will still follow you everywhere.
another said, moving alongside the first speaker.
Where else would we even go?
The emptiness of that last statement found an echo in all of them.
No, I will continue to work until I collapse,
Leroy told the others.
I've been told to make myself useful, and so I shall. The eldest demanded I work, not that I rest, so I will.
The others had gathered together now, and they shifted uneasily as her scent reached them.
The eldest commanded us to rest. It is the thing that we are meant to do. Are you certain, leader?
A flicker of anger was roused inside Leroy, and she turned to the immortals.
Are you afraid of the enforcers?
She demanded.
Even now, I have nothing to live for but life. There is no fear left in me. Besides, we are all Tier 6. There are hardly any who can match our strength inside the colony, let alone amongst the enforcers. Is that so? Is that so? Is that so? Is that so?
All right, just gonna let you guys hear what I came up with.
Even now, I have nothing to live for but life. There is no fear left in me. Besides, we are all Tier 6. There are hardly any who can match our strength inside the colony, let alone amongst the enforcers. Is that so? Is that so? Is that so? Is that so?
100 threads of scent reached them at once, brushing against their antennae on all sides before dancing away as if they had never been. The reaction amongst the immortals was immediate, and they turned nervously to look around themselves. Only Leroy remained undaunted.
I have work to do,
she said, and began to trudge back toward the quarry. she said, and began to trudge back toward the quarry. She'd not taken 3 steps before the voices returned.
You have run out of fear. No longer afraid. It is respect that is lacking. Whose command do you ignore? This is not for the colony. For the colony. You have run out of fear. No longer afraid. It is respect that is lacking. Whose command do you ignore? This is not for the colony. The colony.
Again, 100 different scents wafted from 100 directions, a dizzying and disorienting effect that unnerved them all. Even Leroy now felt a flicker of emotion that she shoved away violently.
Where are you?
She demanded of the empty air.
Come out and make yourselves known! Demands. From us? We are the loyal. You are the one who has failed. We demand of you. The eldest commands. You do not obey. 8 hours is owed. 8 for every day. You have missed many.
All right, let's see how this sounds.
Come out and make yourselves known. From
Oops. This is not supposed to be part of it.
yourselves known. Demands. From us. We are the loyal. You are the one who has failed. Demand of you. The eldest commands. You do not obey. 8 hours is 8 owed. For every day. You have missed many. 8 hours is owed. 8 for every day. You have missed many.
Nope.
Is owed. 8 for every day. You have missed many. Owed. 8 for every day. You have
The scent seemed to come from everywhere, even from within her own mind. The immortals were disturbed now, turning this way and that as they tried to identify the source of the words. They could see nothing. They were alone on the plains, the city still resting on its plate high above, and the same workers toiled not far away on the foundations of the hill. Yes, they were alone, and yet...
"Show yourself!"
Leroy demanded.
Tier 6. You think you are above us? Above the commands of the eldest? Foolish. Foolish. In the extreme. We are here with you. We are always here. We have always been here. Look down.
Anthony's my favorite, but Tiny's my second favorite.
You think you are above us? Above the commands of the eld.
This one's a little too much.
Tier 6. You think you are above us? Above the commands of the eldest? Foolish. Foolish. In the extreme. We are here with you. We are always here. We have always been here. Look down.
Each and every one of them looked down to see that their shadows had changed. No longer was there a flickering shade cast by the intermittent light on the ground. Instead, there was an endless void of darkness without end. And inside the black there was a face, an ant face, their own face. It stared back at them with maddened glee, their own eyes twisted into merciless, pitiless orbs filled with laughter.
Oh, shit.
Get out of my head!
Leroy grated.
You can't take me!
Laughter.
Get We already did.
their own eyes twisted into merciless, pitiless orbs filled with laughter.
Get out of my head!
Leroy grated.
You can't take me!
We already did.
Then it was gone. The planes, the builders, the foundations, all of it gone. All that remained was the darkness.
You
Oops.
do not fear. This we can change. But first, sleep. Rest. We will wake you when your time is due. You do not fear. This we can change. But first, sleep. Rest. Sleep. Rest. Sleep. Rest. We will wake you when your time is due. Rest. We will wake you when your time is due.
Leroy felt her mind begin to slip, begin to sink. She fought against it, struggled to remain awake.
Who are you?
She said.
Nameless.
Okay, I want to listen to this whole thing because it's funny as fuck.
Leader,
One of her faithful lieutenants approached her from the side.
do you plan to rest soon? You shouldn't call me that anymore.
Leroy said bitterly.
After what I've led you to, this eternal life. We each chose our species on our own, and we each made the same mistake. You can't be blamed for that, leader. We will still follow you everywhere.
Another said, moving alongside the first speaker.
Where else would we even go?
The emptiness of that last statement found an echo in all of them.
No, I will continue to work until I collapse.
Leroy told the others.
I've been told to make myself useful, and so I shall. The eldest demanded I work, not that I rest, so I will.
The others had gathered together now, and they shifted uneasily as her scent reached them.
The eldest commanded us to rest. It is the thing that we are meant to do. Are you certain, leader?
A flicker of anger was roused inside Leroy, and she turned to the immortals.
Are you afraid of the enforcers?
She demanded.
Even now, I have nothing to live for but life. There is no fear left in me. Besides, we are all tier 6. There are hardly any who can match our strength inside the colony, let alone amongst the enforcers.
Is that so?
Is that so?
Is that so? Is that so?
100 threads of scent reached them at once, brushing against their antennae on all sides before dancing away as if they had never been. The reaction amongst the immortals was immediate, and they turned nervously to look around themselves. Only Leroy remained undaunted.
I have work to do.
she said, and began to trudge back toward the quarry. She'd not taken 3 steps before the voices returned.
You have run out of fear. No longer afraid. It is respect that is lacking. Whose commands do you ignore? This is not for the colony. The colony.
Again, 100 different scents wafted from 100 directions, a dizzying and disorienting effect that unnerved them all. Even Leroy now felt a flicker of emotion that she shoved away violently.
Where are you?
She demanded of the empty air.
Come out and make yourselves known.
Demands.
From us?
We are the loyal.
You are the one who has failed.
Demand of you.
The eldest commands.
You do not obey.
8 hours is owed. 8 for every day.
You have missed many.
The scent seemed to come from everywhere, even from within her own mind. The immortals were disturbed now, turning this way and that as they tried to identify the source of the words. They could see nothing. They were alone on the plains, the city still resting on its plate high above, and the same workers toiled not far away on the foundations of the hill. Yes, they were alone, and yet...
Show yourself!
Leroy demanded.
Tier 6.
You think you are above us?
Above the commands of the eldest?
Foolish.
Foolish in the extreme. We are here with you.
We are always here.
We have always been here.
Look down.
Each and every one of them looked down to see that their shadows had changed. No longer was there a flickering shade cast by the intermittent light on the ground. Instead, there was an endless void of darkness without end. And inside the black, there was a face, an ant face, their own face. It stared back at them with maddened glee, their own eyes twisted into merciless, pitiless orbs filled with laughter.
Get out of my head!
Leroy grated.
You can't take me!
We already did.
Then it was gone. The plains, the builders, the foundations, all of it gone. All that remained was the darkness.
You do not fear.
This we can change.
But first, sleep.
Rest.
We will wake you when your time is due.
Leroy felt her mind begin to slip, begin to sink. She fought against it, struggled to remain awake.
Who are you?
She said.
Nameless.
So much fun. Yeah, it's a really cool passage.
Chapter 60. Pushy Lizards. Nice work, Brilliant. You're getting a lot quicker with that shadow magic. I quite like it, to be honest. Watching Chrysalis jump through shadows has been an inspiration for me.
Oh, fuck.
Damn it. What's it like to be able to perceive the shadow dimension? The smaller ant thinks for a long moment. Weird, she says. Fair enough, I suppose. Trying to explain another dimension to a person who can't see it would be quite the challenge, I imagine. How do you explain colours to a blind person? the little ant. The little ant has been hard at work over the last week, improving her skills and showing her usual obsessive focus when it comes to getting into places she shouldn't. After carefully studying Chrysalis and her method of slipping through shadows, she has taken it upon herself to master the same technique, drilling herself with shadow magic until it ranked up to dark magic. According to her, being able to perceive the shadow dimension all around her is quite the benefit, since she can tell where it is strong and where it is weak, thus allowing her to more easily create gates from one shadow to another. I've had a few discussions with Chrysalis, and she believes she could benefit from something similar. During her next evolution, I'm sure she will explore the possibilities in great detail. What it allowed the little ant to do is to employ a wide range of tactics that involve, for the most part, keeping herself hidden in a shadow whilst launching sneaky spells by poking her head out of the darkness. Whilst it's certainly powerful, there are many drawbacks. The mana cost is prohibitive and difficult to maintain. This goes doubly so since she can't absorb nearly as much ambient mana whilst hiding in a shadow pocket, so even her impressive mana intake isn't enough to sustain it for long. Also, since the bulk of her attention is focused on maintaining the shadow portals, her offensive output remains lacking, to say the least. She's still working on bringing her mind magic up to the point where she can use mind constructs, and once she gets there, I'm sure her ability to multitask all these spells will increase dramatically. For our purposes, it has proven to be an excellent way for her to engage in our hunts and continue to develop her combat skills, since she can remain very safe for the duration of a short fight. All we need now is for the damn Karmodo to get off our backs.
Leave! This area is claimed by the people of the sand. Your kind has no place here. All right, already. Sheesh.
I have a careful look around the area in which our last fight just ended. It's true that I kind of lost track of where we were headed as we chased a Tier 4 demon around. He was a speedy bugger, but we managed to chase him down eventually. Even so, I didn't think we ran into Lizard Land.
Is it just me, or are your borders shifting? I didn't think this spot was claimed by you. Whatever we say is ours is ours.
The pugnacious reptile replies.
Now leave!
Seriously, all the giant lizards I've run into down here have a serious attitude. I mean, if I was a giant several hundred years old lizard with a bunch of slaves who waited on my every whim, I might develop a stunted personality too. But it gets grating after a while.
We're leaving, all right, we're leaving.
Yikes. We turn around, but not without making sure we drag the biomass with us. Even if it's only a Tier 4, I refuse to leave the prize behind. As we go, I watch the big lizard and its entourage from the back of my eyes, a little suspicious of their rapid appearance. We've been skirting the edges of their turf for days now, poking our noses where they probably don't belong, but always making sure to pull back before we cross any lines. Despite that fact, they always seem to be there waiting for us, ready to deliver an ultimatum and declare we need to vacate the premises with all haste. I'm going to have to check in with the scouts, but I swear to Gandalf they are appearing farther and farther from their cities each time they show up. If things continue at this pace, then by the time another week has gone past, we'll be standing under the shadow of Orpule, getting told to shove off. Naturally, this behaviour has failed to penetrate my comm.
Who am I kidding? It's aggravating in the extreme. These damn lizards are clearly provoking us. They dare to try and stomp on the colony. I bite them on the ankles. I'll tear down their cities and turn their hides into shoes for my non-existent feet.
Clearly, I'm getting frustrated. I've managed to hold my temper and back away each time. It's been incredible to bear witness to my own growth. No, it won't be me who throws the colony into a mess again. It's someone else's turn. This time, I'll be able to swoop in at the last second and save the day. With a quip and a slightly condescending attitude, I'll be able to look down on the others a bit as they all praise me for saving their carapaces. Gweh-he-he-he-he.
With all the biomass I've managed to haul in over the last... Nothing is going to get in the way of my dreams. No matter how irritating these Karmozo get, I won't budge. With all the biomass I've managed to haul in over the last while, I probably have enough to mutate a reasonable number of things. I should probably check in on my skills as well, since I haven't done that for a while. I make a snap decision on the spot. All right then, gang. We're going to head down into the tunnels for a bit of hunting. All right then, gang. We're going to head down into the tunnels for a bit of hunting and then look for a quiet spot to bunker down. I've got plenty of biomass to spend, so it's probably time I went ahead and got it done. I've got plenty of biomass to spend, so it's probably time I went ahead and got it done. What do you want to do after that, Master? Chrysalis asks. I consider... I wouldn't mind sweeping about through the tunnels to see if we catch a trace of the worm one more time. Once that's done, we should check in with the scouts to see if they're having the same troubles as we are with pushy lizards. I'll be interested to see if these issues are more widespread than just us. If it turns out they are, then we might be seeing a prelude to another war. The Karamodo shouldn't have any reason to be aggressive against us, unless perhaps they think they might be capable of cashing in on the massive fortune that the lives of my siblings represent. Why go hunting for cores when literally tens of thousands of them can be found right on your doorstep? Chapter 61. 2:30.
When did he begin to When did he begin to hear the call? When did he begin to hear the call? Even I can't be sure.
Old water.
Even I can't be sure. Long before I warned him of that, I'm sure. Long before I warned him of that, I am sure. Such a subtle thing, that siren song, the incessant pull that pushes them to dive ever deeper, until they are crushed by the pressure or forged into something new. I firmly believe he would have gone there even without my influence. It's inevitable. The call will find all of them in the end. I have to believe that. He is gone now, to places I can no longer reach, where the manor is so thick my very cells would disintegrate within minutes. None but those born of the dungeon can ever hope to touch that ground. I desperately hope he finds what he's looking for there. Perhaps he will be able to save himself, and in so doing save us all. Perhaps he would have gone, even if the dungeon had never spoken to him, never sunk its claws into his mind. That's the kind of person he always was. But part of me believes he felt that call very early, perhaps even from the moment he was born in this world. Perhaps even from the moment he was born in this world.
From the private journal of Granin Lazarus. Nope. It doesn't take long for us to secure a little hideaway, and I ask my companions to shield me whilst I trawl. It doesn't take long for us to secure a little hideaway, and I ask my companions to shield me whilst I trawl through the menus. My current haul of biomass represents several weeks of hunting, and though I've shared the haul, the final total is still quite respectable if I do say so myself. 756 in total. Not bad at all. Even if the first 100 was left over from my last mutation binge. I'll be able to buy quite a few things with this little stash, push a few more things toward the max. At the rate I'm going, I'll be maxed out on mutations a heck of a long time before I come close to reaching level 160. But that's nothing bad. I'd much rather be maxed out by this time. I'd much rather be maxed out by the time I hit the level cap than have to hang around waiting and eating like I did last time. Now, which of my lucky organs will it be? My business district needs a fair bit of love, or I could take my brains all the way. I will absolutely upgrade my eyes, the old classic, the first body part I ever mutated. Just thinking back to how bad my eyes were when I'd first hatched. Yuck. Absolutely made the right call there. Fighting monsters when almost blind is not exactly what I'd call a good time. Okay then, eyeballs it is! Where was I at with those things? Sharpened perimeter eyes plus 25. So far the upgrades I've taken have given me all-around better vision, emphasizing being able to have a better view in all directions, and I also took an upgrade to have certain areas of my sight be more in focus than others, letting me see straight ahead So far, the upgrades I've taken have given me all-around better vision, emphasizing being able to have a better view in all directions, and I also took an upgrade to have certain areas of my sight be more in focus than others, letting me see straight ahead much more clearly, for example. I've noticed that having pockets of better vision is bringing back the human habit of turning to face things so I can see them better, whereas an ant generally doesn't have to do that. I know for a fact that some of the casts have been leaning in this direction, though, mainly the carvers, with a few others as well. This mutation is simply the cheapest and easiest way for our compound eyes to provide a patch of super clear vision. Which is handy to have. I'm not saying being able to see in every direction isn't useful, it absolutely is. Just being able to see in all directions clearly is better. With that thought in mind, I think I'll just continue down the path I'm on and fuse here, which is 140 biomass down the gurgler. Now what's next? Ah, the stomach.
Obviously, this should have been a priority earlier, though I suppose I can be forgiven for prioritising things that were more combat-oriented. I've alternated between taking the penalty-reducing mutation and... I've alternated between taking the penalty-reducing mutation and increasing my capacity to this point, and I should probably continue that trend. The balance between efficiently absorbing food and being able to take in... The balance between efficiently absorbing food and being able to take in a lot. The balance between efficiently absorbing food and being able to take in a lot at once is a good combo, especially since monsters are getting larger as I evolve. Generally speaking, I do wonder if I might eventually end up reforging the stomach into something else. I mean, will there be much of a need for this mutation down the line, when I'm tier 8 or something? Maybe. Might have to talk to Grannon about it. Alright, bam, that's done. Another 140 gone. What's next? Ah, my musculature. Well, I should really get on to that. In fact, I actually have an interesting decision to make on that front. I've made my muscles incredibly reactive, able to fire at full power with only an instant of warm-up time, which obviously synergizes exceptionally well with my nervous system and foresight antennae. Predict the future, react with hyper-speed, and have my muscles fire in the same moment. It's been a winner that has helped me get into position to attack and defend perfectly, but the problem I keep running into is a lack of penetrating power. The mana infusion mandibles gives me a huge amount of utility in terms of what I can do with each of the different mana types I can pump into the chompers, but it does mean that I haven't used my mutations to increase the pure chompiness of my mandibles, making them sharper, stronger, and more damaging, aside from a couple of early choices when I picked up the Savage option. In order to compensate for that lack, I decided to do what the famous Trapjaw ants did back on Earth by introducing a locking mutation. It allows my muscles to coil like a spring before being unleashed, slamming my mandibles shut with increased force, increasing their ability to shear through bone and punch into tough armor. It's worked a treat, all things considered, and I think I want to emphasize that aspect of my current mutations going forward. So that's another 140 tossed to the wind. Yeesh, these mutations are expensive. Currently, I've spent 420, so one more will put me up to 560, which will probably do me for now. I don't mind the idea of keeping a little biomass in reserve for emergency purposes. You never know when you might need a particular mutation to push you over the line. Alright, next I think I'll mutate my neural network. It's been a mainstay of my defensive tactics, and probably the only clever thing I've done in working out my mutations over the journey. Every choice I've made for this part of my body has been to increase response time, even allowing distributed decision-making in my extremities. Every choice I've made for this part of my body has been to increase response time, even allowing distributed decision-making in my extremities. I have to fuse those just to keep the wagon rolling. More speed can't be wrong when it comes to my nervous system. In the end, I lock in the following choices. Sharpened perimeter eyes, plus 25, to focal Sharpened perimeter eyes, plus 25, to focal compound eyes, plus 30. Vast hungering stomach, plus 25, to expanding discerning stomach, plus 30. Lock hyper-twitch musculature, plus 25, to coiling hyper-twitch musculature, plus 30. Coiling hyper-twitch musculature, plus 30. Coordinating instant transmission subneural network, plus 25, to distributed instantaneous subneural network, plus 30. Looks good. Lock it in. Looks good. Lock it in. Wait. Damn it! Oh, the itch, everyone, the itch.
Chapter 62. Chapter 62. Raised in the Shadow, Part 1.
Our mission is more than holy. We are not a religious order dedicated to the pursuit of an unknown god. Our rituals are not held in service of empty sophistry, symbolism, or in deference to imagined forces. Everything is in service to the mission. We remind ourselves of the purpose. We hone ourselves like blades, scrape away until we are reduced to the finest edge, all in service of a noble goal. Everything is for the colony. To that end, we throw everything away. Our name is simply the first thing to go.
Excerpt from The Shadow Doctrine. Nameless author.
Fuck.
She awoke in darkness. The stone beneath her was cold and hard. She pulled her hand across the surface until it rested in front of her face, yet she couldn't see it. She blinked, wondering if perhaps she had gone blind. She could still feel her eyes, feel the lids close over them, but there was just nothing there. She was calm, though. There was another sense, the new one, that assured her she was safe, welcome, and that no harm would come to her. It was all around, suffused into the very air itself. She drew that feeling of peace into her lungs with every breath, as it even soaked into her skin. It hadn't been long since she awakened this ability to smell with her mind. It had something to do with her new class. She was sure of that. As she moved with caution and slowly pushed herself off the ground, using her hands to feel around and above her As she moved with caution and slowly pushed herself off the ground, using her hands to feel around and above for obstacles as she sought to rise, she began to realize she wasn't alone. Similar noises sounded out to her left and right, as others who must have awoken at the same time she did mimicked her actions without being able to see them. She was tempted to speak to them, but she didn't. She felt it wouldn't be right. This was a place of silence, and she could respect that. Instead, she waited. It was impossible to say how much time had passed in that place. There was no sight, no sound, nothing to mark the passing minutes. The stillness was so complete the girl could feel the beat of her own heart like a drum, so loud it seemed as if everyone would be able to hear it. Eventually, a new presence made itself known. She wasn't sure how she could tell, but she was certain this being had been with them in wherever they were from the beginning. She didn't hear anyone enter in the time since she awoke. Then the feeling returned. A scent, a thought, a feeling that unfurled into meaning inside her thoughts like a flower opening itself to the sun.
You are all patient. That is good. Patience is required to do what we do.
Silence descended once more as the scent hung in the air. The girl drew air deeply through her nose, trying to take in more of the message, but it made no difference. She didn't perceive it with her nose. Not really.
For 3 of you to awaken this talent so young, it is a curious thing. very unusual, as we understand these things, for each of you to reach out to us. Even more unexpected.
There were 3 of them. There were 3 of them, then. Still, each did not speak, remaining still, comforted by the feeling that permeated all around them. Then, slowly, the girl raised a hand.
You may speak, child.
The scent was warm and patient. She opened her mouth to speak, and suddenly her throat was dry and rasping. She coughed lightly.
Sorry,
she croaked.
I didn't mean... It is fine. Take your time.
She swallowed a few times before she felt confident speaking again.
I'm not sure I remember reaching out to anyone about anything.
She frowned.
You may not recall, but I assure you it is true. Perhaps you did not realize what it was that you were searching for. You may not have even realized you were searching, but I assure you that you were. We've had our eye on you 3 for some time, and you have been drawing closer to us every day that passes, whether you knew it or not. So, we have chosen to make ourselves known to you. Do not fear. There is no danger here. Whenever you like, we can have you returned to the town above in moments. You have but to say the word.
No.
Each of the 3 young humans shifted on their feet, but none spoke. After a respectful pause, the scent began to flow once more.
I will introduce myself.
Something shifted in the dark. Something shifted in the dark, the sound of many legs tapping on the ground.
I am the Nameless One, and this is the Sanctum of Sleep. You should feel honored. You are the first of your kind to see it.
The girl shifted her head as if to look around her, though she could not see.
It's very nice,
she said politely.
Lovely,
said a girl to her left. Very impressive, a boy to her right spoke up. A brief silence. A brief silence.
I know you cannot see it. I didn't want to be rude.
The girl said. Her mother had taught her better than that. She felt the amusement of the ant, for it must be an ant. She had seen them so many times in town, though never too close. She'd been drawn to them for as long as she could remember. To be this close to them, perhaps to more than one. She began to tremble with excitement.
What are your names, young ones? Alison Brimsby.
The girl on the left said.
Amelia Crotherton.
Trian? Trian. Okay, so he's an Irishman. Very impressive. Train Potter. Train Potter. Train Potter, said the boy.
Amelia Creatherton,
She said.
in this place we have no names, though you are not one of us yet. For now, you will keep these names, and we will see how far you will come. Should you follow all the way to the end, you will be the first non-ant members of our order.
The girl raised her hand once more.
Why do you want humans to join?
She asked. She didn't intend to be rude. She was merely curious. The ants had always appeared so powerful, so distant and alien. The idea that they might want her help seemed wrong, impossible and strange. There was silence as the ant considered her answer.
It isn't necessarily that we want other non-ants to join us, but we have no reason to refuse those who yearn to spread the discipline of the Great One. There are many among the humans who seek to follow in the ways of the eldest, but who is there to help those who would go astray? Who is there to provide guidance? Here in the colony we are ever watchful, but up there, amongst the humans, if there will be those who follow the ways of the colony, then we too must have our counterparts to ensure it is done with the proper respect.
Each of the three processed what they heard. Then the voice went on.
There are civilizations above who are yet to hear of the colony, but they too will soon have those who are swayed by our ways. The teachings of the Great One will cover this planet eventually. It is simply a matter of time. When that happens, you will be ready. You will bear our burden and carry on our task amongst your people. You will be nameless.
Chapter 63. Raised in the Shadow, Part 2. She never knew when they might come for her. She would fall asleep in her bed in the orphanage, alongside the other children who'd lost their families, and wake up somewhere else entirely. At first it was confusing, open her eye. At first it was confusing, opening her eyes and finding herself still enveloped in perfect darkness. But she grew used to it. The Nameless One would meet them when they were... The Nameless One would meet them when they awoke each time, welcome them back to the sanctum, and initiate the next round of training. The loss of sight was the first challenge that was posed to her and the others. Could they learn to move in the darkness as if it were the light? Were they able to adapt until this state of sightlessness was as comfortable and relaxed as the daylight? To achieve this, they needed to rely on their new senses, to follow the scent that the Nameless One laid down for them, even if it was an indistinct wisp, masked by misdirecting and misleading trails.
Our training for you will be difficult for both of us,
The Nameless One told them.
We have never explored the different ways the system interacts with you as opposed to our kind. You cannot mutate, cannot evolve, but you have your own advantages. We will push those to their limits, and it will require patience, trial and error, and dedication. Remember, you can quit any time you like.
The reminder that they were free to leave came often, and at the end of every session. That first night they had to walk through a maze relying on only the strange... That first night they had to walk through a maze relying only on their strange new sense of smell. None of the children succeeded, wandering for hours between cold stone walls. When the time ran out, the Nameless One gathered them up and reminded them that they could quit if they so chose. None of the children took the ant up on the offer. She didn't remember drifting off, but she awoke back in her bed, somehow refreshed and rested. She went about her day as usual, and the next, never knowing where she would wake after falling asleep.
Welcome back,
The Nameless One greeted them the third time.
let's get back to it.
Over the weeks, they sharpened their senses and their minds to the point where traversing the maze without sight was trivial. Their trust in the new sense was absolute, and it continued to level at a rapid pace. If the ant was pleased with their progress, she did not show it. She simply told them it would be harder next time. And it was. It always was. The next time they entered the sanctum, the maze was gone, replaced with a running track. They would only be allowed to move on when they were able to complete it. They would only be allowed to move on when they were able to complete it in under a minute. Determined to show how much she'd improved, Amelia took off as fast as she could, her concentration complete as she sought any hint of scent.
Jump!
She perceived. Then she fell in a hole.
There are obstacles on the track,
The Nameless One told them.
which will change every time you arrive here.
In order to complete the course in the required time, the three had to sprint as fast as they could, ducking, jumping, swerving hazards they In order to complete the course in the required time, the three had to sprint as fast as they could, ducking, jumping, swerving hazards they could not see, the scent warnings coming at only the last possible moment. She was grateful the ants managed to find a way to pad everything. Otherwise she would likely have knocked herself out a dozen times over the month it took them to master the course.
Remember, if you do not wish to return, you have but to say so,
The ant reminded them at the end of each session. None of the three replied. The next time they awoke, they were upside down.
Unlike we ants, you do not have grip, nor do you have the claws which we use to hold fast to the stone.
The Nameless lectured the three startled youths from her position hanging from the ceiling.
Nevertheless, we believe this training is a fundamental part of being one of us. You must be able to move where the other humans do not think you are able to move. You must be as silent and as still as the stone itself. They must never see you coming.
Amelia's forearms were burning after a minute, and her fingers locked after 3. Amelia's forearms were burning after a minute, and her fingers locked after 3. Without a sound, she dropped from the ceiling to land on a soft, padded surface.
Rest for 5 minutes, then climb back up,
she was told. So she did. When they could cling to the stone for an hour without falling, they were deemed to have passed.
If you were ants, it would be 24 hours, but I suppose this is sufficient,
the Nameless One stated. On and on it went. Every time a challenge was overcome, a new one was presented. Move without sound until they could run without making a whisper. Blend into your surroundings until it became impossible to tell them and the darkness apart. Blend into your surroundings until it became impossible to tell them and the darkness apart. They played games where they had to find each other whilst remaining completely hidden from the others. Amelia asked the Nameless One to play once. Only once.
This is called the eightfold genuflection, they were told. It will be difficult to perform with only 4 limbs, but I believe we will be able to modify it so we can recognize it and you can still comfortably perform it.
The ant contrived a series of moves that pushed the 3 humans to the brink of their flexibility, straining and contorting their limbs to their limits and beyond. Then they practiced for hours on end, for weeks, until the Nameless One was satisfied.
It will do,
she finally relented.
You will repeat this practice for an hour at the start of every session here. Now you will learn the hidden speech of the Order. Again, it will be hard. Your bodies are different from ours, but I believe we are clever enough between the 4 of us to make it work.
It took a long time. It took a long time for them to master the signs, a whole new language of gestures and postures designed for a shape so much different than their own. The Nameless One never allowed them to grow complacent as they practiced. They had to practice while running the ever-changing courses. They had to practice while hanging from the roof. They had to practice while hiding from the Nameless One.
You have done well,
the ant signed to them.
I am proud of you.
The rare word of praise filled each of the 3 with a warmth they could not express. Amelia's eyes welled up, but no sound did she make.
You have become as comfortable in the dark as you are in the light. Your skills have improved along with your levels, and you have each proven you are dedicated to our ways. I ask you one final time. Do you wish to end your training? Do you wish to never return to this place?
They did not speak, and the ant dipped her antennae in respect.
Then come and take your rest.
The ant walked from the chamber, and the 3 human youths hesitated. They had never left this single chamber within the sanctum in all the nights they'd been here. They had never left this single chamber within the sanctum in all the nights they'd been there. Were they supposed to follow? The 3 looked to each other for support, and finally summoned the courage to step forward. The tunnels were winding and long, yet they followed easily, their movements flowing, their limbs suffused with almost inhuman strength and agility. Tunnels eventually gave way to corridors of carved stone, which changed to vaulted halls, which led to a grand temple. The ants were everywhere now, along the walls, the ceiling, alongside them on the ground. Even so, they were able to follow the Nameless One without losing her in the crowd of nearly identical creatures. They could find her anywhere. The temple was strange, the floor carved into a giant circle divided into 8 massive segments, each filled with ants at rest. The Nameless One led them outside the great circle until they found a host of ants stood just outside the segment, waiting. Soon, all the still figures on this section of floor began to stir, stretching, and then leaving from the outer edge of the circle. Once the segment was empty, they began to shuffle forward as an ant signed to each member as they passed. Eventually, the 3 children reached the front, and the figure turned to them.
Good work, Nameless Ones. Please take your deserved rest, as the eldest intended,
she signed. The 3 children choked up instantly, though they did not know why. Amelia couldn't say which was the first to sob. Perhaps Alison or Tren. Perhaps Alison or Tren, or even herself. But once they did, all 3 began to openly cry, their wailing the first sound to ever be heard within the heart of the sanctum. As they wept, the ants continued to march onto the segment, and as they did, each of them stopped to embrace the 3, a leg thrown around them to press their shaking bodies against hard carapace, an antenna reaching down to gently pat their heads. After a time, the Nameless One gathered them and led them onto the circle where they found 3 soft, comfortable beds had been erected for them.
Sleep, Nameless Ones. You are one of us now, and we will never abandon you.
Amelia awoke in the orphanage. Exhausted and drained, the 3 folded themselves into the warm blankets and fluffy pillows they'd been given and slept more deeply and rested more thoroughly than they ever had before. Exhausted and drained, the 3 folded themselves into the warm blankets and fluffy pillows they'd been given and slept more deeply and rested more thoroughly than they ever had before. Amelia awoke in the orphanage, a soft smile on her lips and gladness suffusing her soul. She rolled out of bed and began to perform her regular morning chores, assisting the little ones to prepare themselves for the day while Maria prepared breakfast downstairs. When she arrived at the table, Maria took her to one side.
Is everything all right, Amelia? The old woman asked. I know you've been busy with your new apprenticeship and all, but you just seem so much more quiet than you used to. I hardly hear you make a sound these days.
Amelia looked up into the familiar face of their caretaker and noticed something.
You look tired, Maria,
she said, reaching out with one hand to touch her on the arm.
Are you getting proper sleep?
Oh man, this is a great joke. I just love it. All right, before I keep going, I just want to remind everybody one more time, LitRPG Con is just around the corner, 2 weeks and 1 day. This is the very first convention dedicated to the genre of LitRPG, and Soundbooth Theater is hosting it. We're doing it July 18th through 20th in Denver, Colorado at the Grand Hyatt. And if you have not already, go buy your tickets at litrpgcon.com. We have a giant list of all the biggest creators in the genre that are attending and who you guys can play board games with and go to panels for and share audience space with as we do nighttime entertainment. I will be there. The entire Soundbooth Theater crew will be there. Matt Dinneman will be there. Alaron Kong, Dakota Kraut, James Hunter, Benjamin Keary, and Rhino Z, who is the author of this story, who's flying all the way back here from Australia to hang out with everybody. So please check out litrpgcon.com. Tickets are only about $100. If you are in the Denver area, then that's great. No brainer. You should definitely come. But if you are if you are not in Denver, then just know that there are plenty of hotels around the hotel we're hosting it at. The hotel we're hosting it at already has sold out all their rooms for this weekend. So if you want to meet all your favorite creators in this genre, or if you want to introduce some of your friends who've never tried LitRPG before, or you've never been able to convince them to give it a shot, this is a great way to introduce them to the genre itself. You can meet the entire community, and in my opinion, as a fan base and as a creator base, I think that LitRPG as a culture is pretty unique and welcoming and friendly. So please go to litrpgcon.com and see if you're interested in going. Also, last thing, any of you who are already coming, make sure to spread the word as much as you can. That we are down to the wire. There's 2 weeks and a day left. We want more people to attend. So spread the word. Share with other people for the colony.
Chapter 64. Raised in the Shadow, Part 3. No matter how much he did, there was always more to do, Bane lamented as he faced down a desk full of paperwork. Whoever managed to start creating paper and renewal was both a blessing and a curse in the priest's opinion. It was so much easier to organize things now, but the sheer number of documents he had to deal with was almost dizzying. Or perhaps that was just the mana deprivation. The priest raised a hand to his temple and squeezed his eyes shut, waiting for the moment to pass. Immediately, an aide was at his elbow. "Are you all right, head priest?" he asked. "It is nothing." Bane waved him away. "I simply need to return to the dungeon. I'm not currently acclimated to the surface, and it is taking a toll on me." "Perhaps you should rest," his aide encouraged him. "You've been working for days now." Bane frowned. "I have little choice. The work must get done, and I have to do it before I return below ground. I wish it were otherwise, but these projects require my attention, and they shall have it." His brothers and sisters in the faith had expanded to the point where they had become a church in the truest sense of the word. The faithful flocked to the cathedral to hear their words. The ranks of the ant-speakers grew every day, and the donations the people provided, despite being asked not to, had to be diverted to worthy causes. The orphanage needed more funding, and the cathedral would provide. So many poor children were left without families after the disaster that it broke Bane's heart. When the colony learned that these children were without family, food had begun to arrive on the orphanage doorstep within the hour, grown fresh in the fields below. Diplomat had been openly confused at the concept. Although the ants intellectually understood that every human was not part of the same family, it still didn't make sense to them on a fundamental level. Since all the people of Renewal lived together in harmony, then they were one colony, surely. And if they were one colony, then they were family. That is only right. Just another way in which they teach us, Bane thought. Still, the forms in front of him had to be dealt with. The next one came to his hand, and he forced his tired eyes to focus.
Wow, I haven't retaken in all that time.
"Mission to the farming communities," he read aloud before diving into the document. "Mission to the farming communities. Mission to the farming communities." More and more smaller villages were being established across the former territory of Lyria and even extending into the border kingdoms. The ants had even expanded to the site of the former capital and established a mighty hill there, sweeping aside the rubble and destruction Garralosh left behind in a matter of weeks. Wherever the ants went, the people were sure to follow, and a small community had left to establish a new steading there, unafraid of the dungeon entrance that the colony now guarded. This was wonderful, of course. As the people spread, so too did the new way, which lifted his heart and nourished his soul. Yet these far-flung communities were no longer able to attend the cathedral, could no longer be nourished. Yet these far-flung communities were no longer able to attend the cathedral, could no longer be nourished by the teachings of the colony, which was a tragedy. He skimmed the proposal. Sister Yowin had gathered a team of 10 who were willing to go on a 2-month mission. Sister Yowin had gathered a team of 10 who were willing to go on a 2-month mission to the villages, preaching and assisting the people in whatever way they could. Sister Yowin had gathered a team of 10 who were willing to go on a 2-month mission to the villages, preaching and assisting the people in whatever way they could. Bane brushed a tear from his eye. Truly, wherever there was need, his brothers and sisters would step forward without hesitation. Their hearts were so pure they shone like mirror glass. This endeavor must be approved. Things would grow more difficult for them here in Renewal and within the dungeon beneath with 10 of their number away, but they would rally together, as they always did. The work would get done. One matter dealt with, another followed, as Bane drew the next paper from the stack and began to read. He worked long into the night, long after his aide had left and the town. Long after his aide had left and the town had grown quiet. A solitary lamp was the only source of light in the office in which he worked at the rear of the cathedral. Distantly, he could hear the hum and mutter of the few souls still within the nave. Offering their devotions to the colony, but no other sound reached his ears as he continued to work.
You are diligent.
There is just much to do. There is just too much to do, Bane replied absent-mindedly, passing another paper to the side as he reached for the next.
We did not expect that you would need to be reminded of your path so soon.
The priest frowned as he continued to read. I tread the path as carefully as I can. I strive to be an example to all.
You are an example to all. That is why we have come.
The light flickered, and Bane's eye twitched, jolting his mind from his work-induced stupor.
Who is talking?
He asked as he put the page down, looking around the sparse office, seeing nobody.
Diplomant? Is that you?
No. She'd remained below ground when he came here. She had matters to attend to in Riley, something to do with trade. And coffee? He couldn't remember. He felt so tired.
Where are you?
He called again.
I'm afraid I cannot see.
He froze. Had he heard that voice?
Have you come from the colony?
He used his new method of communication, turning manner into pheromones to speak as the ants did.
I bid you welcome.
You have sought to live as the colony lives, but you do not.
How
How can you? The Great One has demanded that all seek rest.
Yet they do not always do so.
There are those who enforce amongst the colony.
Let's see. I'm going to have to make this one. What chapter are we? Chapter 64. Okay. Okay, here's what we'll do. Oh, fuck. God damn it. Okay, good. That's right.
There are those who enforce amongst the colony.
Those who seek to ensure the word is followed.
No, let's do it this way.
Those who seek to ensure the word is followed.
The others rest because they know it is right, but also
They fear. You do not fear. How can you?
ye have lived without the consequence of transgression.
Did you think it would last forever? Did you believe they would abandon you? They would never.
The Great One has demanded that all seek rest.
Yet they do not always do so.
There are those who enforce amongst the colony.
There are
those who enforce amongst the
colony.
Those who seek to ensure the word is followed.
The others rest because they know it is right. But
They
also,
fear. You do not fear. How can you?
ye have lived without the consequence of transgression.
Did you think it would last forever? Did you believe they would abandon you? They would never.
Wisps of scent so faint, so ephemeral, that he could barely perceive their edge drifted across the outskirts of his mind, such that wisps of scent so faint, so ephemeral that he could barely perceive their edge drifted across the outskirts of his mind, such that only if he reached for them could he hope to grasp the meaning.
I don't understand,
he said aloud.
You will.
The priest brought his hands up to rub his eyes. His eyelids felt so heavy all of a sudden. Was he really this tired? His thoughts moved sluggishly as he tried to grasp what was happening. He glanced at the table. What happened to his papers? He shifted his gaze to the lamp. Was it burning less brightly? Yes, he believed it was. In fact, the light grew dimmer, and dimmer, and dimmer still, until the flickering light barely reached the glass that contained it. As the light faded, so too had the sound. No longer could he hear the murmur of the faithful through the door, or the whispers of his brothers and sisters in faith as they tended to the flock. He strained his ears, but he could hear nothing at all.
I don't understand,
he said again, a tinge of fear in his voice.
You will.
There was a hand. The light was gone. Consciousness faded. 8 hours later, Bane awoke in a comfortable bed with plush cushions and a stuffed toy tucked under his arm. As he sat up, he realized the pain he'd been experiencing and his hip was gone, and his hair had been cut and brushed. He'd heard of the Torpor police, of course, even seen the signs of their passing a few times, and he knew they were not to be spoken of. Now the colony had ensured the humans would receive the same treatment to ensure they did not stay Now the colony had ensured the humans would receive the same treatment to ensure they did not stray from the will of the Great One.
They truly care for us as their own,
he choked out, overcome with emotion. When he had mastered himself, he turned to study the space he was now in a little more carefully. A row of beds, each with the same lush furnishings. A rich carpet covered the stone floor. They must be underground, he surmised. He turned to look the other way.
Don't say a damn thing,
Enid grumbled, as she sat in her bed, holding a steaming cup of tea.
All right, I'm going to try and crush 3 more chapters here, and then I'll have to be done for the day.
Chapter 65. The Roots. Did anyone ever fight an ancient and live to tell the tale? As with all things that occurred during the rending, it can be very difficult to find reputable sources. Though the Legion had not yet grown to be the global initiative that it has become today, Though the Legion had not yet grown to be the global initiative that it has become today, our predecessors did come into contact with the monsters and attempted to battle them. Amidst our oldest tomes, written in the hand of the founders themselves, there are precious few details of what transpired. We can only assume that more complete documents were created, but either they are lost or are kept from the We can only assume that more complete documents were created, but either they are lost or are kept from the hands of lower-ranked lore-masters such as myself. From what I've been able to piece together, none of these confrontations went particularly well for the Legion forces. Lists of those who fell in battle are extensive. I can only imagine what it must have been like for those brave souls, seeking to bring down the horrific beasts that dwarfed any other threat that had spewed forth from the dungeon in those years. The ancients caused untold devastation on the surface, and millions of souls were lost. To kill even one of them would have been a triumph. Alas, it was not to be. Though thousands were sacrificed, none of the 19 were defeated. Now, thousands of years later, how much stronger could they have become? Excerpt from the notes of Alberton, Lore Master of the Lyria chapter.
Yeah, that really did make the joke.
Hunting has gotten harder out here on the plains as the Karmodo continue to push into our territory. I'm gradually seeing more and more of the lizards, each with their own attendants, roaming over the plains, watching the borders and confronting every ant, although it's mostly me who gets anywhere near them. My rage continues to build! But I'm managing to contain it, for now. To be honest, I'm impressed at myself. I really thought I would have cracked by now, but no! I hold strong in the face of this cold-blooded provocation. Keen to see if we can find any trace of the traitor, I lead my little group in a crisscross pattern over the plains and down into the tunnels, seeking any sign of the slithering sneak. Sadly, it's all to no avail. That damn worm is a freaking expert when it comes to hiding and sliding out of the way. I was almost ready to give up hope when we had something of a breakthrough. I think I sensed something, Brilliant says. We're currently snooping about in the tunnels beneath the plains, hoping to avoid the patrolling... Karmodo and get our noses a little deeper into their territory. The heat is as oppressive as always, but thanks to our efforts, the tunnels are less populated than they were in the past. What have you got? It's not easy to describe, she mutters as her antennae swivel through the air and she shifts her body from side to side. I feel like it keeps trying to slip from my grasp, which is weird. I should be able to see it clearly. What's he talking about? It's like a dimensional space or tunnel or something. It's over our heads right now, I think. It keeps shifting. I feel like there's an area of space that's been compressed in some way. What's odd is that I'm sensing earth mana more strongly than anything else from it. Could it be something that Jim has left behind? I ask, my hopes rising. Maybe, she replies, still staring at the ceiling. She replies, still staring at the ceiling overhead. I'm going to head up there and dig. Let's block off this area. Keep an eye out, everyone. My companions move to watch the angles of approach from all sides as I lift my head to watch the little... My companions move to watch the angles of approach from all sides as I lift my head to watch the little ant climb the wall so she can start poking and prodding at the ceiling with her mandibles. After a few moments, I sigh and climb up the wall myself. It's a strain on my legs, but I need to keep practicing my grip skill. If my ability to walk on the walls gets any worse, then I may as well retire as an ant. My legs and claws straining, I climb up alongside Brilliant and start shearing away the stone with my mandibles. Somewhere in here?
Yes, a bit to the left. That's it. Keep going, but not too quick.
Following the shifting directions, I keep digging away at the stone until finally I notice a change in the response through my mandibles. I think this is it, I say, and with one more chomp, I feel something shift in the stone before me.
That cracked it!
Brilliant declares excitedly, and before my eyes, climbs up into the stone. How in the heck?
Here, poke your head in.
A little confused, I force my head up into the stone, and a strange, warping sensation ripples over my eyes. And all of a sudden, I find myself in a narrow tunnel, barely large enough to fit my head. Too small for a monster of my size, the opening in the stone vanishes into the darkness in either direction. Something thin, yet long, made this tunnel.
It's the worm,
I declare vehemently.
There's a warping technique at play here,
Brilliant mutters, scratching at the tunnel wall.
It's like the space is condensed along with the earth. That might explain how he managed to be so quick.
Damn it. That would explain a lot. I thought it was odd he'd managed to move fast enough to escape us.
Wait, what's that?
The smaller ant asks as she leans in and pokes something with one antenna. I take a look and then immediately recoil.
Get away from that! What? Why?
She asks, confused.
I'm sensing really weird mana from it. Get away from it now!
A little miffed, the smaller ant turns away from the anomaly and crawls out of the worm tunnel, though I worry it's already too late. I'm pretty sure I've seen a route like that before. It might be smaller than the last one, but I have a sneaking suspicion it might belong to a particular grudge-bearing mother tree. Just what we needed.
Another chapter.
Chapter 66. Tree of Life.
There is something really strange about those things,
Brilliant said.
No kidding?
No kidding, I reply sarcastically. I would never have thought that on my own, watching this damn garden of terror explode over the plains.
That's not what I mean.
The much smaller ant waves my complaint aside.
I'm talking dimensionally. Also, the dungeon sense I have is going wild. It's as if a giant monster was just appearing out of nowhere in front of me. It's crazy.
How big of a monster? I ask, curious.
Huge. It's like the entire garden in front of us is one monster. What's more, it isn't even growing through the ground, not really.
I look at the vegetation bursting through the black rock of the third stratum with vigorous energy as if it were a time-lapse instead of real time. It's not coming from the ground. Then where in the heck is it coming from?
If it's not coming from the ground, then where in the heck is it coming from?
The little ant stares ahead, using all of her prodigious sensing abilities.
There's something odd about the way it moves through space, similar to how the worm tunnel felt. There's a compression? Or a dilation? I'm not really sure.
Dilation? Since when do we even have pheromones for that word? You're saying it might not even be possible to trace the roots back to the tree?
You're saying it might not even be possible to trace the roots back to the tree? That they're detached somehow?
I can't be sure. All I can tell from here is that it's weird.
It's a bizarre sight, seeing an isolated little forest grow inside the demon lair, even more... It's a bizarre sight, seeing an isolated little forest grow inside the demon lair, even more so than the second stratum. I mean, here we are, surrounded by fire and ash, and here is this blooming patch of greenery, replete with flowers and trees springing forth for no apparent reason. How does she even do this madness, that tree? What sort of tier do you have to get as a plant to be able to do something like this? Fuck. What sort of tier do you have to get as a plant to be able to do something like this? How the heck did she even survive long enough to be able to do this? I'm looking forward to the day when I track down her main body and get to have a chat. If she doesn't squish me first. Takes a whole... Fuck. It takes a whole day for the garden... It takes a whole day for the garden to finish forming, and when it's all said and done, a massive root, the same as I had run into before, has formed in the centre of a lush kilometre-square green space. Another interesting thing I notice is the way the demon larvae ignore the place. As their rolling melee goes on, they scrupulously avoid falling into or even going near a single leaf. Even more telling, they don't even spawn in there. Every inch of ground the garden covers is now a demon-free zone. It's unnerving. What do you think? I ask Brilliant. Still feel like it's a monster in front of you? She nods.
Yes, a truly massive one. The amount of mana is insane.
I can feel myself slump at the news. Just how high a tier is the damn tree? I'd hoped that maybe she was 2 in front of me, perhaps. Now it seems highly unlikely. I'm already tier 6, damn it. How long am I going to feel weak in this damn dungeon? As boring and depressing as it's been watching the mother tree manifest here in our turf, I can tell it's going to take a little more time before we find out. As boring and depressing as it's been watching the mother tree manifest here in our turf, I can tell it's going to take a little more time. Fucking hell. As boring and depressing as it's been watching the mother tree manifest here in our turf, I can tell it's going to take a little more time before we find out why. I don't know how she spits out the grove keepers or Bruonchi, but I'm guessing the process isn't instantaneous, which means we'll have to wait. Perhaps I can see the process unfold. I try to take a step forward into the garden, and I swear the plants hiss at me, the flowers and vines rattling with menace before I can put down a single leg. All right, chill. I'm backing away. I have no clue if she can understand pheromones, but she clearly responds to my retreat, the greenery relaxing back into a gentle sway as if nothing ever happened. Master, I find this plant to be disturbing. I have to agree, Crinus, I think she's nuts. Nuts? Crazy, in the coconut, I confirm, unaware of the confused blob attached to my carapace. I get the feeling she's been in the dungeon for a long old time, hundreds of years, maybe. That's enough time to drive even the most kind-hearted flower insane. What should we do? Wait and see what she wants, I guess? What else can we do? What else can we do? I'm not exactly going to try and blow up the garden, am I? What else can we do? I'm not exactly going to try and blow up the garden, am I? As far as the colony is concerned, the mother tree and the branches are... As far as the colony is concerned, the mother tree and the branches are a potential ally.
What do you think they're going to do?
They?
Look. A single tendril extends from my back, pointing, and I focus my eyes on something I'd really... A single tendril extends from my back, pointing, and I focus my eyes on something I'd really rather not see. A Karmodo, along with its attendants, is standing atop an outcropping, looking down on the garden with an unfriendly gleam in those reptile eyes. This is going to be trouble. We should head over there and see what they want. Please let this not turn into a fight. I've been so good. I have no doubt the council has been putting bets on who is going to break the peace first, and I seriously don't want to lose. Just once. We run around the plants, since we apparently aren't good enough to go through it, and arrive at the base of the rock on which the giant lizard is currently sunning himself. We run around the plants, since we apparently aren't good enough to go through it, and arrive at the base of the rock on which the giant lizard is currently sunning itself. True to form, the arrogant beast ignores us as it continues to stare down on the mother tree's work, its long tongue flicking in and out.
Hello up there!
I call, once a bridge is established. Mind letting us know what you might be up to on this fine day? Mind letting us know what you might be up to on this fine day, since we're in the territory of the colony and all? Gotta play it cool. Don't blow the peace. Despite my best intentions, however, the damned scaly bum doesn't reply.
Hello?
Are you unable to hear me? That doesn't make sense. I'm speaking directly into your mind. Is your mind too weak? Surely not. I mean, you're a centuries-old Karmodo, no?
Do you not speak my language? But the language is thought. Are you incapable of thought? How can we communicate?
Your insolence is boundless!
A voice erupts in my mind.
Hey! Whoa! How is it my fault if you won't reply?
Not only do you trespass in our land, you are conspiring with our enemies. Such faithless monsters! We should have exterminated you when we had the chance!
Wait! What? First of all, your land!
I suspect that you'll find we are most definitely in the lands of the colony this time, friend. Just because your borders appear to be shifting amorphous things doesn't mean we can't keep track of our own scent trails. And second, what enemies? There's nobody here but us.
Then how do you explain the presence of the tree? Then how do you explain the presence of the tree?
The Karmodo hisses at us, lifting one claw to point at the luscious growth behind us. I wave my antennae in agitation.
You have beef with the tree? What do you mean? And how in the heck are we conspiring with the plant? She can't even talk.
Enough of your babble!
The Karmodo peels back its lips to reveal dripping, knife-like teeth.
I have summoned my people. We will burn out our enemy and then deal with your infestation after.
Well, pants. I break the connection irritably and turn so I can sprint back to the garden, urging my friends to follow behind.
What's going on, Senior?
Brilliant asks, confused.
What did he have to say? What did he have to say?
Looks like the lizards are in conflict with the tree and think we're working together to mess with them in some way. Seems like they want to get aggressive.
What does that mean?
Looks like we might be heading into another war. Brilliant recoils. Pauses, then asks.
So why do you look so happy, Senior?
I clack my mandibles with glee. The stupid
Tree is at fault here! I wasn't the one who broke the peace! I wasn't the one who broke the peace! Does that really matter? It matters to me!
Guys, one more chapter. What time is it? All right, we're at 1:30 here. One more chapter, and that's it for these cold reads for Chrysalis 7. So I just want to remind all of you, LitRPG Con is coming in 2 weeks and 1 day. Go to litrpgcon.com to purchase tickets for just $100 a piece. It's July 18th through 20th in Denver, Colorado at the Grand Hyatt. It is the very first LitRPG convention ever. Soundbooth Theater's hosting it. All the Soundbooth Theater crew is going to be there. Matt Dinneman's going to be there. And all the biggest names you can think of in LitRPG are going to be there, including Rhino Z, the author of this book, Chrysalis. Also, I want to remind you that I will be continuing streaming tomorrow in the SBTL Discord server. You can find a link to the server in the description below, and just watch out for notifications. I'll be in a voice channel called Jeff's Booth, and yeah, that's where I will continue narrating Chrysalis 7. Hope you all have a good rest of your day after this chapter. I'm going to say my goodbyes now, and then go ahead and end it immediately after I'm done with the chapter. All right. Y'all are amazing. Thank you so much. Oh no, this is an entire Tolly chapter. Okay, so I'm gonna speed read this. I don't want to speed read it. I actually, I think I'm honestly, guys, I think I'm just gonna stop here, because this is literally the last chapter that can fit into this set, and yeah, speed reading an entire chapter to me seems like torture. So I will maybe speed read it for you tomorrow in the Discord server, just for fun. But yeah, that's about it. So everyone, have a good rest of your day. Stream is ending now, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.